Hi, my name is Aaron Walker. I'm in the 4th month of praxis, and in this video I'm just going to be talking about some of the content that I've been consuming over the past week. Most of this content has to do with Jordan Peterson, who is a professor of psychology out of the University of Toronto. I've been following him for a few years and I really like his lecture series. Guiding this video will be these 7 questions, so let's just get started. Question number 1. What were the concepts that were covered in this week's content? So Peterson talks about a number of subjects. Most of them just have to do with modernity and the problems therein. For the sake of brevity, I'm just going to be talking about his critique of Marxism in this video. So what is Marxism? Marxism is an approach to history based on 2 things. One, that humans are blank slates. So most of human action can be boiled down to culture and environment. It's not because of free human action or because of something that can be determined like biology. 2, it's the idea that history is the struggle between oppressors and the oppressed. When Marx was writing, this was in economic terms of the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, the people that had the means of production and the people that didn't. Today, neo-Marxists apply this theory to race and gender. The principal concept that Peterson puts forward is that hierarchy is natural, which is of course in opposition to this Marxist theory of history that argues that hierarchy is the result of oppressors or other social influences. This brings us to question 2, which is what arguments did the author give for their ideas? So this is the really interesting part for me. So Peterson uses the example of the lobster. He says that we have a common ancestry with the lobster dating back 350 million years ago, and that our neurochemical structures, the way that our brains are set up, are very similar to that of the lobsters. Well, how so? The central nervous system of lobsters is set up so that they know their rank relative to other lobsters in the dominance hierarchy, and the brains are actually made to track their place in this hierarchy, in this list. And when lobsters are higher in this hierarchy, their brains release this chemical that is similar to serotonin in humans. And serotonin is related to low negative emotions, right? So anyway, the neurochemistry of lobsters is so similar to that of human beings that human antidepressants work on lobsters. So what does this mean? It means that hierarchy is not this thing that comes about from a cabal of oppressors or from certain social situations, but that it is fundamental to not only the existence of human beings, but the existence of life itself, like on planet Earth. Hierarchy is something that predates humans. So that brings us to question number 3, which is what ideas were new to you? So going into this, I already opposed the Marxist conception of history and Marxist ideology, but this like lobster theory, I thought was just like so incredibly unique and elegant. And it was something that I would never personally have come up with. So I really enjoyed it because of that. Question number 4, what new questions did this content bring up for you? What did it make you curious about? So this makes me think, what other common Marxist or leftist tropes can be refuted with science or biology? If hierarchy is fundamental to the human experience, what about honor, loyalty, prejudice? Like these other massive concepts that we struggle with in contemporary thought. And question number 5, did this content in any way change the way that you think about the world, and if so, how? So it reaffirmed my belief that hierarchy was something that's natural and something that we have to contend with as people, but it localized it to like the individual experience, to like our individual biology. Before I thought that hierarchy was something that was the natural result of people with different abilities existing in a free society. Hierarchy is something we see throughout history, so it's something that you would sort of expect to see now. But with Peterson's theory, it's not just that like you can do advanced mathematical equations and I can't, and you can jump 10 feet in the air and I can only jump 5, and so of course we would expect to have like different outcomes. It's that every second of our experience is filtered through a lens of where we are relative to other people, and that our quality of life itself is in some part determined by how good we're doing in that competition. Question number 6, what are some ways you can use the ideas even if you don't agree? So the way that we can use this idea is how to frame what we do in our daily lives. The reason that you do better, the reason that you need to improve yourself isn't just because of the practical effects that's going to have, or so that you can get ahead in the game of life. It's something that is fundamental to your existence as a human being, or even just as a living being on Earth. Your brain will fight you if you do not do it. If you do the things that you need to do and you're getting things accomplished and you're doing well relative to other people, you're going to produce more serotonin and you're going to have less negative emotion. So it's really important that you understand that you're not just improving yourself so that you can get ahead in life, it's just so that you can be a person. Which brings us to question number 7, which is, what connections, if any, are there between the ideas you consumed and the ones you already knew? I've kind of already answered this one, so I went in kind of on the same side, like, yes, egalitarianism and leftism and opposition to hierarchy are like flawed ideologies, but this reoriented my understanding into something more rooted in biology and psychology. And so I definitely got a lot out of it. I think that's about it. So I'm going to see you next week.